Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, I'm doing fantastic, fantastic. I got some good stuff for us today on a business segment. So this morning, Tuesday, October 22nd, CNBC 10-year Treasury yield climbs above 4.2%. Two-year yield tops 4% as traders debate the rate cut outlook. So, basically from the Minneapolis Fed president and the Dallas Federal Reserve president and the Kansas City Fed president, they're basically saying be cautious on dropping these interest rates. Be very cautious and be patient with it because it will create more inflation and stagflation if they drop the rates in a quicker rate that they want to do right now. Your thoughts on that?
So would that mean that you think, investors, let's talk from an investor's point of view, are they going to be looking to get stronger returns on their investment, which will maybe continue to increase inflation?
It's going to depend on the investor. I mean, if we're looking at the investors who are just like day traders and investors that are looking to take pretty much quick gains and get out, like the investor whores, no, this isn't going to be a good thing. All right. But if it's people that are looking long term, it possibly could be a better scenario for them.
Seems like a little bit of like back and forth, right? No one really, everyone gives their thought and then they say, well, we don't really know. We'll see what happens. So it's I think because if I look here, let's look at this. I'll put the links in here as well for everyone to see. So
Okay.
Minneapolis said the longer term trajectory for rates could be higher than the Dallas was saying that the patient approach will be needed to lowering rates. So it looks a little bit of like back and forth between everyone in their opinion, which is expected. But
Mhm.
I guess it just kind of looms the uncertainty of what's going to happen in the future.
Well, the biggest thing, which is above our heads now as a nation, is $35 trillion in debt. And this is the first time ever we're going to be paying $1 trillion in interest because of the interest rates. However, if it's Trump that gets in, he can't be a spender. He's got to be a cost cutter. And, he said he'd bring Elon in to do that, but, also open up the oil reserves. But you can't be printing money. I mean, you can't do that. If they do that, it's going to defeat the purpose of future gains for the nation itself. Let's go to the next one. This is interesting from Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is releasing its own entertainment app with family-friendly shows and podcasts. So basically, the summary on this is they're having less people come inside the restaurant and more people going through the drive-through. And I will say this from my own personal experience for the last almost 4 years of living in the Southeast compared to New York, I have never seen Chick-fil-A's where you need air traffic controllers at the drive-through, and I kid you not, okay? It's like nonstop, pretty much from 11 o'clock until like after 6 o'clock. And it feels like they're guiding in 747s one after the other, people coming in. So what Chick-fil-A is looking to do is they're looking to actually create an entertainment app, for their customers and for their children to keep it more on a friendly basis, as Chick-fil-A is a Christian organization. It's closed on Sundays, but they want to keep that family-minded environment. And McDonald's is shutting down their playgrounds. As I was a kid, that's what brought kids in there, was the playgrounds and the characters. So McDonald's is moving more towards a healthier approach. But I like the point that Chick-fil-A is doing here. Your thoughts on it, Jonathan?
It's here, Chick-fil-A is the third biggest U.S. restaurant chain, and I mean, listen, everyone is trying to get more people on their app, right? So this is going to help them drive more interaction and keep them with them, even when they're not at the restaurant. It's a great way for them to diversify what they're doing.
Oh,
Um,
100%. And the one thing I do like that the article mentions, the content, the content on the app focuses on themes like generosity, friendship, problem solving, creativity, entrepreneurship, according to the representative Cooper from Chick-fil-A, which is very interesting. And they want to appeal to children that are 12 years old and under. and their parents. So I think that is a great way to extend the olive branch and keeping the family in mind. Any final thoughts?
I mean, listen, I like the idea of having family-friendly content for all children to watch, assuming everyone agrees with what that is. But again, the thing that just came up to me is like, again, we're getting rid of the physical playgrounds, and I just saw this thing right here. It says that they're creating a digital playground. So again, we're getting out of the, have fun, go down slides, go on the monkey bars and whatnot, and instead just keep scrolling and watch videos. So as a whole, that's where we're going. So I get what they're doing, but also as a whole, I mean, it's a shame that we're removing ourselves from more, physical playgrounds and whatnot. But it just
Oh,
seems to be the way we're going.
yeah, listen, I agree with you, Jonathan. You were probably the last generation to go out inside and play.
Yeah.
I was a generation before you.
Yep.
So all we knew was to be outside when I was a kid. We didn't even want to be inside. We can count how many hours and minutes we spent inside compared to outside. It was endless, when I was growing up. Anyway, I think that's, a good lesson for business to look at what Chick-fil-A is doing, especially if you're a small business. How can you get your community involved with your business? It may be in a family sense, but you got to put in your thinking caps for that. Let's go to the next article. And this is from Forbes. This came out on October 8th. And this is very important. What you need to know about the current state of the white collar job market. And this is very alarming. And, when we spoke about the job reports, when they came out the first Friday of every month, you see a lot of bullshit jobs in hospitality and nothing. I'm not taking anything away from those people, but when you have a college degree and you've made that investment to getting a white collar job, now there's going to be, less jobs for that itself. The job market in the United States is experiencing a significant squeeze, creating challenging landscape for professionals seeking new opportunities. The imbalance has left many qualified candidates struggling to secure positions, marking a stark shift in the employment dynamics for white collar professionals. While jobs in food services and drinking establishments, healthcare, government, and social assistance, and construction trend to go upward. Okay. And a lot of those jobs I just mentioned, those sectors aren't full-time jobs. They could be seasonal or part-time jobs, where a white-collar job is a full-time job. And there are I think it's just around 945,000 less jobs full-time than there were 2 years ago. So this is very alarming. Your thoughts on this, Jonathan?
A couple things. So let's just go over the numbers for a second, okay? So we're saying that the current 12-month average is 203,000 jobs per month, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just correct me if I'm wrong. If September was 254, that's higher than the 12-month average. So that would mean that we're better than average right now, right?
However, you got to look at how many of those jobs are full time versus part time because
Yep.
those job report numbers go off the U3 report and not the U6 report.
We know that. So let's just keep everything constant because that's what all these are. So these are all like not the actual jobs, but if the standard is the same, September is actually uh, better than the average of the last 12 months. But if you look at the numbers here, right, 2023,
Mm-hmm.
2022, 2021, right, 2021, 604,000. Great. You know why? COVID, right? Everyone lost
Yep.
their jobs and everything came back. So just the way some of these articles are referenced, they're kind of misleading if you really think about it and go over it. So it's kind of why we always talk about, you got to really think outside the box when you're reading stuff. Because if I was a guy that didn't know what happened from 2019, 2020 to 2021, 2022, I would think, yeah, this is really alarming. But perhaps we got so many new jobs in 21 because all those people were laid off or
Mm-hmm.
excess, and then 22 the rest came over, and 23 and so on. So is this just the new average that we're going to be leading into in the 200s, low 200s? Maybe. I know what you said before is right, where These aren't full-time jobs that, I mean, the full-time job market may be different ever since COVID, and maybe it doesn't go back to where it was. Maybe more people are going to be looking for more freelance work, 1099 work, part-timers, more, maybe people will have two part-time jobs instead of one full-time job. We don't know, but that's kind of the way it's looking. Um,
Well, you know what? I got a friend of mine. He called me the other day. He owns a bakery on Long Island. And, I asked him how the shopping center is doing. He's doing good. And he said, hey, listen, you know what? All these other businesses that used to be out there, clothing stores, retail, Amazon has destroyed them and will continue destroying them. And you'll see more of them shut down. And this is a guy, he's had his bakery for almost 40 years. He inherited it from his family. So, he's got his finger on the pulse. He sees what's out there in the local communities. So, really, the bottom line is, like you're saying, if people are going to be freelancers, 1099s, or whatever, it depends where the economy's going. And we're going to find out in a couple of weeks who's going to be the president, because that's also going to dictate possibly where the economy is going to go itself. But one of
yeah.
the things that's mentioned in this Forbes article, the communications, media, and technology sectors are experiencing particularly intense competition with an average of 30 candidates vying for each individual position. You go back a few years ago when COVID hit, and people were able to dictate to the bosses exactly, hey, this is the way it's going to work if I'm going to work for you. I'm going to work from home for X amount of days a week. You're going to pay me this. I'm going to want a 5, 6, 7% raise. I think those days are coming to an end, to be quite honest with you, as Amazon has called people back to the office itself. What we can do is go to the next article, because it's kind of in the same realm of what we're talking about. And this actually came out a week prior to the Forbes article, and this is from CNN. Americans are fretting over the job market. Americans' slowing job market is taking a toll on people's moods. So basically, the conference board's latest consumer survey showed that Americans became much more pessimistic about the U.S. economy's current health and future job market. So this kind of feeding the Forbes article as well, too. So I'd like to get your feedback on this, Jonathan.
Well, yeah, I went to a prospect the other day. He was a art framing company, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
has a successful business for 10, 15 years, and he's potentially looking to have his children take it over. But what he told me is that they have no interest. They're looking at, being firemen or something like government workers. Like every one of them's doing something
Civil
different.
service. Yeah, civil service. I
They're,
can't blame them because they want that security.
yeah, so and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we've said over the last year or so is that employers are skeptical of hiring people because they don't know where the market's going to be. They don't know what
Mhm.
they have. The, 6 months ago, a year ago, maybe even now, people are really being picky with what they want. They're not, they want to be so secure with what they are going to get. It's not like it used to be where you get a job and you deal with it, right? And now I want a job, like you said before, I want to work, remotely. I want a hybrid job. I want to work remotely 3 days a week. I'll come in 2 days a week. I want all these perks. And for most employers, it's not going to help them. It's going to put them at risk because now they have to have another person to, you know, satisfy with what they want. It's putting the company last. So, um,
And if you don't mind if I add to that, John, it's not only putting the company last, that employee, they're putting themselves last. Because, if you're a person that's in your 20s or 30s, you want to work with people who are seasoned and experienced, because that's going to rub off and help you grow professionally. And you're going to be able to share information with that seasoned person that's going to, spark an interest or thought from them to grow as well, too. So you're brainstorming together physically, and, as we discussed numerous times, you're feeling one another's energy in the same room, and you're working off, the more people you have, the more energy you're going to feel off people. When you're working from home, working from a box, you can't feel that energy or see that energy. So that's really a huge difference there. So I really feel things have to change. And one thing I'd also like to add, I had a conversation this morning with a client, and they said, man, I wish a person like you was working for me. I'm like, why? He goes, you know what? Here you are, you're brainstorming with me. And the only reason you brainstorm is like you have an insight to business. You don't know my business 100%, but you're bringing business basics and you're helping me to think. And I love that. And unfortunately, the people I have working for me is like my phone never rings from that person going, "Hey, John, I have a great idea. What do you think about doing something like this?" He doesn't have that. And you know what? That's a shame people aren't taking that initiative because I've always said, you know what, to the people that have worked with me, listen, bring your idea to the table. I don't care if it's a stupid idea, bring it to the table because at least it's on the table. We can look at it, think about it, maybe build upon it or retwist it and get the mechanics to work, make it work. Your thoughts on this, Jonathan?
That, I mean, you mentioned something about the putting the employee last. I mean, they're putting themselves last. The problem is that most of the time they don't even think that long term, so they don't care about getting that experience, getting that exposure to all these seasoned people that are been around the block. Um, it goes hand in hand. I have a client. He's a relatively new client and quality person. Really, good head on his shoulders, good guy. He'll be really good in the future. He has all these people around him. He hired like this video person and all these other people, but he's paying the money to get these people in the door, but they're not actually doing like what they need to do. They're not asking him the hard questions. They're not pushing him forward. I had a 45-minute meeting with him, and he had a huge list of things that I recommended him, not because he was paying me for that. That's just stuff that I was just kind of shooting back and forth with him. And he's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these are all great ideas. Not one time have any of these people come in the office and went over any of these things with me. And they were very simple stuff. So uh, I feel a lot of companies nowadays, especially the newer companies, they're not getting the little details that they need to take their business to the next level. And these little details are simple. They're just not thinking about them.
Yeah, you know what? You're 100% correct. You and I are outsiders when we deal with our clients. However, I find like a lot of my clients, I'm sure you do as well, actually look forward to speaking with us because we're bringing insight to their business for them, which they're not getting from their internal employees, which would be scratching my head if that was occurring in my realm. And I'm sure the same with you as well, too. So, when you're a business, you're a team together, and you got to work as a team. You got to step up to the plate, and you got to work. Pretty much, you got to gel together. And if you gel together, everybody's going to benefit from it, especially if there's bonuses involved and commissions involved. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to do the job you're trying to do. There's too many people out there nowadays that are joining all these courses, these classes, without actually doing research on what they're looking to do. Um, I say that because I've seen many people that they'll spend a lot of money to be part of these like groups of, let's call them masterminds, or let's call them like-minded people, and they pay a few $100, $500, $700 a month to be a part of these groups, and they just kind of tell them what they already know. So there's no quick way to get rich, right? There's no
No.
the old saying is, easy come, easy go. So you got to earn it. You have to work for it. It'll come if you do the right things. But there are too many people out there that are looking for that shortcut. So many people.
Yeah.
That's what they just want, that quick way to grab that cash. But for the most of us, it's not going to be like that. You're going to put in long hours, a lot of work, and you'll get there if you do the right things.
Listen, the key to success is you have to have a structure. And the two things I always say is communicating and being organized. But you have to have that structure. Slow and steady wins the race. That's the way to look when you make investments financially. Slow
Yep.
and steady. Like you said, Jonathan, there's no quick rich scheme. And if there is, you better be very leery of it. That's for sure. Listen, hopefully this has been creating knowledge for you. We ask you to hit that thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share this video with others. You guys have a great day. Take care.